it still echoes in my head, loud and clear. I pray for some light silently in my heart, listening to it beating slowly, that has now found its own rhythm. I found new meaning for some lost words. The grave haunting sound from these instruments opens one's mind to the different dimensions of the sacred. Prayers are omnipresent, silently murmured by these Tibetans rotating their prayer wheels and chanting rosaries. Prayers are engraved everywhere in bright, vibrant colors. These colorful pieces of cloth are Tibetan prayer flags. Each color represents an element of this world. Yellow for earth, green for water, red for fire, white for air and wind, and blue for the sky. The wind blows through these holy syllables, carrying them far and wide, blessing all the people it touches, and goes to their homeland, Tibet. Now more than half a century in exile, colors have faded away, prayers are unheard. But hope is still alive. This is not their homeland. For the Indian government, they are refugees from Tibet. They will return back to their homeland someday.
Johnny, Johnny, yes, Papa. Eating sugar, no, Papa. Telling lie, no, Papa. Open your mouth, ha, ha, ha.
Unfortunately, Tibet has fallen into darkness. No one recognizes the existence of a country called Tibet. Now these seekers of truth live in exile. The rich and ancient culture of Tibet is on the verge of extinction. The undying spirit of these Tibetans has still kept the identity and culture alive even in exile.
Say something. Say something. 11 ये तो अंदर चला गया.
Hello, my name is Napawan Sithisak. I'm come from Thailand.
I am Priyadarshini Singh Mahara. I'm Masha from Bangalore.
And I'm Clinch. हाँ जी सर, ठीक ठाक है? पूछे।
This film is about a journey. A journey to discover your inner self.
I have done my graduation in philosophy and my master's in philosophy. And along with that, I've done a course in conflict transformation and peace building and a course in Buddhist philosophy.
Okay, I'm a clinical psychologist by training and an explorer by choice.
Actually, I am a volunteer for Free Tibet in Thailand.
I'm doing my final year graduation from Xavier's BA, and my area of specialization is ancient Indian culture.
A journey that makes you realize the value of freedom, gives you courage to dream, and to discover your heartbeat.
Sure. Normally, we get to see the nuns debating every evening. Every evening, if you don't want to hear them, you'll hear that.
I took the same road in June 2008, but only back then I was a participant selected for the Gurukul program organized by the Foundation of Universal Responsibility of His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
Tibet as a land of snow, so naturally the color of snow is white, bright. However, till light from India reached Tibet, Tibet remained dark. So that's very true. So we have very, very special relations. Usually I describe our relation is something like a relation between guru and chela, like that. And then last 52 years as a political asylum, as a refugee, we enjoy the India's freedom. So I think fortunately, a lot of Indians, my guru, involve corruptions. But we Chela seems so far not much opportunity to corrupt. So beside that, of course, the freedom is here. So the India's freedom really give us meaningful opportunity to not only carry out various activities regarding preservation of our own culture, our own identity, refugee life more meaningful than life in Potala. So this is my home. So I want to extend my welcome you here.
So it's been 4 Gurukuls that I've conducted. And the journey has been really good. We have increased the number of participants every year. And this is the biggest group this year of 27 people.
I have worked for one exhibition in Thailand and Tibetan go to like make a Tibetan culture. And then you know what happened? The Chinese in Thailand go and like go out.
I want to go there and discover the other parts of Buddhism.
Buddhism is something that I kind of got to know about recently, and I had been reading a lot about it, but it kind of made sense to me recently. So that was one. Then the other opportunity was, of course, to get to see the whole Tibetan settlement and a whole lot of other things. So.
In June 2011, I embarked on the same journey again. This time as a filmmaker with new participants from all over the world, to witness the change this journey was about to bring in these youth and to get closer to the Tibetan community in exile.
And my expectation is they try to really, go into details since they have got the chance, instead of just going on the top, the whole community, the whole Tibetan Buddhism, the culture.
What do you think is the main problem with Tibet?
Chinese.
China forcefully took over Tibet in 1949. After all those false and hollow promises by the Chinese government and 9 years of fruitless attempt to find a mutually agreeable solution, the spiritual and political leader of Tibet, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, had to seek asylum in India. Since then, over 1 million Tibetans have died as a direct result of Chinese occupation. Over 6,000 monasteries have been destroyed. Tibet is now dominated by the Chinese population and is slowly on the verge of losing its rich culture, identity, and environment. Sadly, something which should not have been forgotten will be lost forever. In Tibet today, there is no freedom of speech, religion, movement and assembly.
The Norwegian Nobel Committee has decided to award the 1989 Nobel Peace Prize to the 14th Dalai Lama Tenzin Gyatso, the religious and political leader of the Tibetan people. The committee wants to emphasize the fact that the Dalai Lama, in his struggle for the liberation of Tibet, consistently has opposed the use of violence. He has instead advocated peaceful solutions based upon tolerance and mutual respect in order to preserve the historical and cultural heritage of his people.
Jhampil, Nagawang, Lobsang, Yeshe, Tenzin, Gaisto, or His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet. For millions of people, he is a living Buddha, the earthly manifestation of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion. Since the late 70s, in an effort to find a solution with China, His Holiness the Dalai Lama has been proposing a middle way approach, which accepts the Chinese rule in Tibet in return for a genuine autonomy. But despite his best efforts, it still remains a distant dream. Now, after more than half a century of spiritual and political responsibility, His Holiness the Dalai Lama has decided to step down as a political leader and hand over the responsibility of carrying forward the freedom struggle to the young Tibetans. The Dalai Lama's residence is in McLeodganj, a small hill station in northern India. Because of the growing population of the Tibetans, it is also known as Little Lhasa. This month-long Gurukul program gives the students a unique opportunity to peep into the lives of the Tibetan people and their culture, to know about the history of Tibet and the Tibetan struggle for freedom, experience the monastic traditions, Buddhist philosophy, Tibetan art and craft, and to go beyond to find themselves. A new world, a new beginning for me. I was finally out of my shell. I can feel the warmth of the sun on my palms, kiss of the clouds, and the silence within me.
I think we've been very blessed and honored as such कि पूरा एक एम्बेसडर टाइप हमें ट्रीट किया गया है और जो प्रॉब्ली धर्मशाला हम 30 लोगों ने देखा है बहुत टूरिस्ट नहीं देख पाते हैं we have probably covered everything and from the greatest possible authority.
So this Nurbalinga term is derived from the summer palace of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, which is in Tibet, and here in India it's all about preserving and promoting Tibetan artistic tradition. So here we're making the images of different forms of Buddha or the Bodhisattvas. Word thang, it means plain or flat surface, like that is the canvas we have. And ka, it's all about making the painting of religious ones. So that's thangka in Tibetan.
They were living in tents, Tibetans, and they wanted these in their households or tents because these deities would then protect them from any problems. And also it was easy for them to just roll a painting, put it on their back and get on their horses and move from one place to another. So it solved a lot of purposes. When I came on the second Gurukul project, my question to His Holiness was, why no women in the Thangka painting studio or practicing Thangka painting? And I was very happy to know that he said, His Holiness said that there's nothing like that, and if you want to do it, there's no restriction on women doing Thangka painting, you should pursue it.
I had fine arts in class 11th and 12th, and then I like sketching, and I wanted to be an art curator. Yeah. So that's the reason I like drawing. Some family issues. My family thinks that it's only administrative service or working as a professor or as a professor basically is these two are the only prestigious jobs, and rest of the thing is just wasting of time. So yeah, I really wanted to be an art curator. I can always go back and say that at least I started with it and I got to know the basics of it, and from Norbulinka.
We see Thangkas of many 100 years old or 1,000-year-old, and if we see now, they're almost same, you know. So I think it's because of the rigidity, because of all the guidelines that are mentioned in the scriptures.
I went for Thangka painting and learned to draw the face of Buddha. That's the easiest thing we can do right now. And you need to be perfect drawing the eyes and the perfect curves of the lips and the nose, everything. So that requires a lot of practice, basically.
Thangka painting training never finishes in your life. There's always you are learning, always. So even I would say 30, 40 years is also nothing.
Wood carving is very personal because as a kid I wanted to be a carpenter. So that was a personal ambition. Like both my parents are doctors, and whenever anyone asked me, so do you want to be a doctor like them when you grow up, I said no, I wanted to be a carpenter. So obviously that was not possible. I mean, so this is of course much more beautiful. So I always wanted to work with wood. So that's why it's really like a dream come true. I put up a picture on Facebook saying dream come true.
I too have a dream. I too want to live it every day. To be free someday. Free in my mind. Free from the past. Free from the future. Present, only present.
So in exile, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, he felt that it is very important for the Tibetan community, who's now fleeing Tibet, in order to reach out to the Indian masses, and also at the same time, he felt it's very important and vital to transmit these cultural legacies to the future upcoming generation.
Okay, when you're playing from this octave, so 5 is this, right? Yes. So how do you throw it? Just
You're getting to learn about the Tibetan culture, which I think even if you come on a holiday or just to learn that, then also it's not really possible because there's so many things we're doing, like Tanka painting in the morning, and then the Buddhist philosophy class. We're learning it under one of the most honorable person, Geshe-la Lagdor. So he's the director of Tibetan Library and Archives. So I think nothing can be better than that.
You meet the Buddha on the way, kill him. But that does not mean that he is really saying kill the Buddha. But what he is saying is, what the Buddha taught was to pay more attention to his teaching than to his person. But most of us pay too much attention to the person, not to the teaching. Tibetan culture that we are trying to preserve is basically rooted in Indian culture. Because Buddha was not a Tibetan, he was an Indian. And we are only a sincere follower of the Indian guru, Indian teacher Buddha. You will see a lot of things here. You will also enjoy a lot of things here. But one thing that you must take from Dharamsala is a way of thinking. If you are somebody who really genuinely wants the most long-lasting happiness, then the source is within oneself, not outside. That's all I'm talking about. The real source of the peace and happiness is cultivating a proper mental outlook.
Intoxicants like cannabis, why, Geshe-la?
Because you are already dreaming. Do you need more dream?
No, that takes you into an altered state of...
I want to use a more effective word. Because of the influence of ethnic emotions, we are more or less under big hallucination. So do you need more hallucination by resorting to all these drugs? So you don't need more hallucination. The hallucination that you have right now is more than enough. अभी तुम पागल है और पागल करने को कोई जरूरत नहीं है. Really, that's what we are saying. So the transformation and change of the mind should come through systematic, proper way, not through the influence and effect of drugs.
If you don't want darkness, bring light in. If you want darkness, then put the light off. But do something with light. Nothing can be done with darkness directly.
It's been an awesome experience, and plus the idea of staying in a place and learning about a culture of their own and it's been a fun ride. And the best part is I got to know a lot of things about the Tibetan issue and things of that sort, which I would have never ever known. Probably wouldn't have ever got this kind of an exposure which I'm getting right now. Well, even studying about anything back in Bombay, I could have done probably Wikipedia or Google or something. But the first-hand experience that I'm getting here, getting to meet people, the kind of suffering that they've gone through, and a lot of other experiences attached to it is really has really touched me. And I think if it wasn't for this Gurukul program, I wouldn't have been really enlightened with all of these things. And the way the entire system functions here, it's like a country in a country.
The present session is the first session of the 15th Parliament, which has been elected recently. And the members of the Parliament have sworn in just days ago.
As in, someone the other day was asking me, what is the word you associate with Tibet? And that was, first I used to associate China, because I didn't really know too much distinctly about the two. But today I think about Free Tibet, and the kind of the Gochusum I visited, and the kind of, I met Tenzin Sundo, and the kind of people I met, which leaves a great impact on me, and how freedom is, and I probably feel a part of history, where Tibet is writing its own history, and me being a part of it is an exceptional feeling.
Essentially means Communist Chinese are so kind like our parents. Because when they come, silver coins rains like cats and dogs. So they gave a lot of silver coins to Tibetans to build roads. And we helped them build roads. And they were the most polite people. They say, Tibetans can essentially slap any Chinese, and they will say sorry, apologize to you. When Tibetans are walking, if they look at Chinese, he'll get off the bicycle and start walking. So polite, unbelievable. But once the road was completed, tanks started rolling, lorries started coming, they controlled cities, and the road went straight to mining areas. They start mining things. So China is very good at building roads, but then, and they're very polite initially.
They don't want Tibetans, they want the land of Tibet. They want Tibetan natural resources. So although they say Tibet is a part of China, if Tibet is a part of China, then they need to accordingly treat the Tibetans as Chinese. And what are they treating? They are treating the Tibetans with a gun, imprisonment, killing. You know this very well. Still it is happening. So how can you then get that trust from the Tibetans to live together?
There was a compromise from independence to autonomy, but he was willing to work that out. And in 1979, when there was opportunity to create that kind of autonomy, he was again going for it. Not because he didn't want independence, but because that was the only thing possible.
Every Tibetan wants modernized Tibet. I often is telling people, including Tibetan, there are quite a number of Tibetan who illegally immigrate US or Canada or Europe, not for seeking spirituality, but seeking dollar. So you see, Tibetan want money. Tibetan want modernized Tibet. So therefore, as far as material development is concerned, if we, Tibet, remain within the People's Republic of China, it is our own interest for material development. I think some of the African states, and also including, I think, Nepal, politically supposed independent, but economically very poor. So because of that, even political field, in reality, not very independent, heavily depend on other, like that. So provided we have our own language, our own culture. That culture also very rich. And as far as Buddhist spirituality is concerned, Tibetan Buddhism is much richer than Chinese Buddhism. Very clear. So we Tibetan also proud people. The Han people also proud people. So long as the Chinese look down about Tibetan culture, about the Tibetan people, Tibetan nation, then this problem, you see, happen. If they respect Tibetan, also the culture and Tibetan kind of the spirituality and also environment, and with this respect, then their approach will be realistic approach. Then within the People's Republic of China, give them meaningful autonomy. So then I think there's not sort of because of the concept of one side victory, one side defeat, but both sides victory and a mutually equitable solution. That's the main reason.
When the Tibetan community started to say, oh, our delegation is going to China, they will bring us some good news. Autonomy is almost happening. China is going to give autonomy. Why are some people being strong-headed, staunchly asking for independence? Why are they not believing in the wisdom of His Holiness, the Dalai Lama? They said that we are anti-Dalai Lama. They said that we are anti-government. And there are a lot of bad names being created on us. But being not the politician, I maintained my own stand for independence, even though it was the unpopular political stand.
가다지 계지 토래야 무튀는 인지 페베 레드인디 베고두사네 에는 예다게 쉬는 시지 란전 쇠는 제비나 에는 베투미 아버지 내랑 뭐야르스.
Even today, Chinese population are not aware of the Tiananmen Square massacre. Even today, Chinese people do not know how much millions of Chinese died because of Mao Zedong's failed policies, like the Great Leap Forward, like the policies of collectivization. They even today think that Mao Zedong is a hero, is a great, is a father of the nation.
Chinese sense of identity of who they are is very much defined, still influenced by the sense of being victim. So when your identity is very much influenced as a victim, what you have, unless you're Tibetan, we have Buddhist influence, sense of vengeance.
최다 리숑 어느 순급체 다나신 엔티조 지 가세 마 투두지기 엔다 표현 나로 전로 마스 자가 나로 가서 자나 나로 리미네 진조 베서 제도부터 두숨이미나 땡땡 디토네 에 가셔야지 가소리야 걔가 갈아간서로 톱 10으로 지다 아니 갑겨 톱 10으로 지래 임베질이야.
I look at China today, and I think these leaders have very effectively created, engineered the largest singular-minded social community. That everybody has same aesthetics, same color, same love of songs, language, interpretation, politics, single dog, single child, single policies. All of them think alike, whether they look at India or whether they look at the United States, whether they look at Tibet, all about moon or about satellites, all of them have same opinion. It's scary to think of that number of social engineering.
But also with all the neighboring countries, some smaller countries which they can easily bully and buy, they are bullying and buying, like Nepal, Sri Lanka. We all know this very well. Then in the bigger countries which they cannot bully and buy immediately, like India, then of course they start doing all this, be it the constructions of dams on the Brahmaputra and trying to channel the course of the river to their benefit, or be it building I don't know, 5, 6, 7 airports at the border area, and gathering all the armed forces, inch by inch seizing India's land. I mean, this is what we have been reading and seeing in the newspapers all the time, you see. And then look at the exercises in the sea, you know, other neighboring countries like Korea and Japan and, you know, I think Vietnam. So they are really like playing this extremely inhuman, dirty game. So that will, in the long run, right now they can show their force because it's a one political party system. They can give an order and have all the armies at the border area, whatever, you know, they can do all these things, kill hundreds and thousands of people with one order. They can do all this, which cannot happen in countries like India or other countries where there is freedom, genuine democracy, whereas this can happen in countries like China, you see. So it looks like they are, you know, gaining something, you see. But the people in the rest of the world are not that stupid.
One kind of freedom that we are talking about, that's the dichotomy that I've experienced here. I mean, though people are fighting for a cause, they're fighting for freedom, there's also a philosophy behind them in terms of Buddhist philosophy, which says that you need to be the best that you can, you need to be free in your mind, right? But for normal average people, I mean, even if you're free in mind, how many of us do really achieve that freedom over here? I mean, for a lot of us, it is in terms of what we can do. And I think there's no freedom in exile because whatever you're doing, it's like a kind of a gift, or you receive it with a sense of gratitude. I think one of the reasons His Holiness has been extremely cautious in terms of telling what the people to do and not to do is because he doesn't want to embarrass the Indian government. So it's like going to a really nice relative's place. The relative would be really nice to you, but you always know that it's not your home, it's the relative's home. So you can possibly be moving from one room to the other, going using all their things, but you know that you owe it to them, in the sense you do it with a sense of gratitude.
You know, there are things on the train sometimes when I go and people ask you, where are you from? Then I say, I'm Tibetan, India mein Dharamsala se aa raha hu. They don't know Dharamsala, they don't know Tibet. Then I say, oh, Dalai Lama ka naam suna hai? Hum Dalai Lama aadmi hain. हम दलाई लामा आदमी हैं. हम दलाई लामा आदमी हैं. कौन दलाई लामा? कौन दलाई लामा कौन? एक भिक्षु है. And then how do I tell this person where I'm coming from, what I'm associated with?
To understand the situation of the nuns, I think it's important for me to tell you that the nuns that I'm dealing with today has had no basic education, no regular education whatsoever. All they know is the monastic education. So since they came there in the hope of being a good nun, we had to focus on the religious education. But I do believe that it's very important for them to know more than one language. It's very important for them to understand what's going on in the world.
घर में मम्मी पापा सब है. कभी कभी आते हैं पापा, जैसे कि 2 साल के बाद एक बार आते हैं. अच्छी तरह से पढ़ लूँगी। फिर मैं सोचती हूँ कि सारे लोगों को ना सही पर अपने गांव वालों को कुछ बताने की कोशिश करूँगी।
And I came all the way from Australia to study Tibetan Buddhism in Dharamsala. I became interested in Buddhism when I was 14, and ever since I knew it was a possibility to live your life as a nun, then I wanted to become a nun. Yeah, the whole idea of reducing attachment to this world and yeah, living a very contented lifestyle that's conducive to Dharma practice, yeah, it made a lot of sense to me, and that's all I've ever wanted to do since I knew it was a possibility.
I came to them thinking that they would be like really sad people, leading a very sad life. They don't have people around them. But I guess that's what a cause does to you. That's what being committed to something does to you, because they are so committed to the whole process of attaining enlightenment, or at least leading a better life, that they aren't really bothered about the hardships. I guess that's what I take away from them.
The amount of love and compassion these Buddhists carry in their hearts is very difficult to understand. I have never come so close to study and observe humanity. It was strange to see people without a country. The word freedom is so much imbibed in ourselves that we have actually forgotten its meaning. For us, it is free, while some have to pay the price of their lives.
1959, when Tibet was occupied by China and His Holiness to leave Tibet, along with him, Tibetans followed. And those of my parents' generation that followed him. Basically, today you'll find the mountain roads in India, in Leh Road, Manali Leh Road, the Sikkim Road, all those mountain roads were built by my parents' generation. And when my parents' generation worked hard on the road construction, the children just wandered here and there. And many of the children also had lost their parents while coming into exile. So His Holiness thought, if this is the plight of the refugee children in exile, wandering here and there with no care, with no education facility, perhaps there's no future for the Tibetan refugee in India. And so His Holiness made an appeal to the Prime Minister, Mr. Nehru, then, to help with the education of the Tibetan children. And with the kind generosity of the Government of India and Nehru's guidance, the central schools for Tibetans were established. And with the establishment of the Central School for Tibetans, we were able to gather children from the roadside and put them into boarding schools. At TCV, it's a special school because TCV started as an orphanage. So early 60s, the first 50 orphans on the roadsides were picked up, and His Holiness' elder sister acted like their mother, and we started the Tibetan Children's Village. And since then, we have grown up. It's not now 50 children, now that's all. Now we cater to today almost 60,000 children under care.
Even in 2007, 2006, I think in a year we had around 700, 800 children crossing the borders, just with the hope that, yes, when they come here, there's a home where they can get into, receive education, receive care. So whatever they come with, they're taken care by the Tibetan Children's Village.
Whether he is the best student in St. Stephen's or whether he is the handicapped boy outside, he is our child. We take care of it. Because first and foremost, the Tibetan Children's Village is a home.
This is the last generation of Tibetans who have seen Tibet. Their only dream is to go back to their motherland. They pray every day in the hope that someday their prayers will be heard. but it still remains a distant dream. All journeys are not the same. On the outside, life has to be a compromise. But the real joy is in making the world around you a little better, a little more beautiful. This very moment, I am free. Just like a bird on the wings, the whole sky is mine.
मैंने तो अपने एक्सपेक्टेशन में शुरुआत में ही बोला था कि मैं तो सिर्फ यहाँ पे मतलब जो नाम है गुरुकुल का वो लेने आया था एक्सपीरियंस, तो उससे तो डेफिनेटली बहुत ज़्यादा मिला क्योंकि गुरुकुल एक तरह से हम मोनेस्ट्री में रह रहे हैं, तो मोनेस्ट्री एक तरह से आश्रम ही हुआ.
So when I was back in Delhi, if anybody, we used to have discussions on Tibet and China, and I used to always support Tibet. But I never had those solid, reasons or stands to take because I did not know much about it. Then now I've gone around, talked to so many people, and I'm taking a lot of things back.
Our days in Dharamsala will teach us the sense of freedom, the need of freedom.
The Gurukul program has given me has become an eye-opener for me that I live in a free country.
It has made me start thinking a lot about things which I never even thought were important in life.
I had come with no expectations and now I think almost the bag is about to overflow.
This whole program has been beyond what I even imagined in my whole life.
I think I'm be a better man.
I think I have changed a lot inside.
कहीं ना कहीं वो अच्छा इंसान बनकर जाएगा.
Now I do it with great amount of focus. I would like to believe that there would be a change, good or bad, we'll see.
All experience in India, I can take it back to Thailand.
हाँ वो समझ कर चलेंगे वो बम्बई से हमारे ऊपर ही फिल्म बनाने आए, तुम्हें पकड़ने की जरूरत, तुम गिरोगे तो नहीं.